Hi there, everybody. Peter Greenberg here on this first Friday of February 2022 with our Facebook Live Global Travel Update. So much to talk about. Of course, you can always email me your questions or put them on right here on the right side here on our comments page. Happy to answer them. We'll be answering some of your other questions as well. But let's first start out with some crazy stuff in the news. And in order to do that, I'm going to take you back in history to February 14th, 2007. That's right. It was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre at JFK. Anybody remember that day? 130,000 passengers affected, stranded during a winter snowstorm at JetBlue. Never left the terminal. The place just completely went nuts. In fact, it was such a crazy situation that it became a course taught at the Harvard Business School about what airlines should never do in a snow emergency. Have they learned from that? Maybe not. Because it happened again earlier this week at JetBlue. Same airline, same terminal. What happened? Something a little bit different. Back on February 14th, 2007, the actual problem happened during the middle of a storm. This one happened 2 days after it, on January 31st. Crazy. So what happened? Well, anytime you shut an airline down for about 10 hours, it takes about 36 hours to get back into sequence, to reunite planes where they're supposed to be with their crews, their staffs, everybody else, compounded by the fact that you don't have enough staff to begin with. So what did JetBlue do? They tried to start too soon. They had operations guys just want to push planes back from the gate, and they had absolutely nowhere to go and then nowhere to get back. So we're talking passengers stranded for over 6 hours, ended up sleeping on carpets at the airport. I mean, it was an ugly situation. Oh, and by the way, it happened again last night in Dallas when it snowed. You know, Dallas is not known for their snow removal expertise, let's be honest. And anytime you have even a flurry in Dallas, it shuts down. Well, last night it not only shut down, it froze. Thousands of passengers stranded, including one of our directors for one of my shows, who I think is still there. And he's still online. Think about that. Everybody tried to get it done. They couldn't. And that's where something called the U.S. Department of Transportation Tarmac delay rule comes into play. And it started way back when, during the days of Northwest Airlines, when planes would push back from Detroit and leave people stranded for 13 hours and they were 80 feet from the gate and they couldn't get back. Or in some cases, they wouldn't go back. So what did the US DOT rules say? And it's in place right now. If you're an airline and you push back from the gate and you get stuck out there, if you don't return your passengers back to the gate within 3 hours, you're liable to a fine, fasten your seatbelts, of up to $27,500 per passenger. So if you take even a half-loaded plane, you're in seven figures. So how many airline tarmac delays have there been since the rule went into effect? Not many. Obviously, the financial consequences are severe. However, look what just happened in both New York and Dallas. It'll be interesting to see what the DOT proposes as a fine. I use the word propose because there's a game that gets played. The proposed fine is almost 99% of the time not the amount that's actually paid. But at $27,500 a passenger, even if they reduce the fine to half of that, we're talking about a serious chunk of money. So we'll stay on top of the story and let you know what happens. And remember, I said people are still on the phones. I gave my producer the phone number that I call as a big mega mileage guy at American Airlines to see if he could get through. You know what the callback wait time was for them to call you back? 4 hours. And that was at 10 o'clock last night. I'm waiting to hear from our director and our producer because I think they're still stranded somewhere in the cosmos. But the point is, look, when you have a snowstorm, we're not talking about an earthquake. I'm talking about a snowstorm. You do have notice. You even have notice for a tornado a little bit, but you have tons of notice for a snowstorm. We knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Where's the airline plan to fix it? Right? There are no surprises here. What's really not a surprise is that they haven't fixed it, and that's depressing. Anyway, speaking of cell phone calls, I saw this sign recently. I want to post it. I love it. It has nothing to do with airports. It has to do with service in general. Anthony, can you post that photo? There it is. Is this great about how we operate our lives these days? I'm not talking about an emergency situation at an airport where you're just trying to get out. I'm just talking about where you can't remove your phone from your ear. And we love that sign, so I had to post it. Thank you, Anthony. I believe in that sign, by the way. So now, let's move on. One of the all-time questions has been, what's going to happen with hotel service in the wake of the pandemic? Are a lot of hotels going to use it as an excuse to cut service? Well, a couple of years ago, I did a story for CBS on the invention of robots at hotels, robots to check you in, robots to deliver room service, robots to clean your room. And I had to chuckle this week. I was sent this story from England. A robot vacuum cleaner escaped from a travel lodge in England and has never been seen since. There's a movie, at least an animated short. So that'll tell you that. Now, the other question that's being asked, and I've talked about this on this show so many times, with all the air rage that's continuing, so much of it involving unruly, disruptive, violent, drunken passengers, with airlines saying, okay, we're taking alcohol service off the plane. Well, will it ever come back? Is it gone for good? Apparently not. Southwest Airlines announced today that later this month, it's bringing back alcohol service on flights of over 176 miles. How they came up with 176 miles is beyond my understanding. But let's think about that. What could possibly go wrong? A long flight and alcohol and altitude and attitude. Oh boy. All right. So much for alcohol on planes. Southwest is bringing it back. I'm not thrilled about that. Now, an update on a couple of things. Crystal Cruises. We all know what happened a couple of weeks ago where their parent company declared insolvency and their ships were still operating with passengers and had to come back. But where could they come back to? A lot of creditors are lining up at the docks with federal court orders to seize the ships for unpaid bills. So one of them diverted, instead of going to Miami, it went to Bimini and dislodged their passengers there. I use the word dislodged appropriately, and then put them on a ferry in sort of rough seas back to Florida. Another Crystal ship just did the same thing back in Bimini and put passengers on ferries as well. And for those of you who have booked passage or cruises on Crystal, I hope you paid with a credit card, and I hope you're not waiting for me to tell you the obvious. Call your credit card company and dispute the charge on your bill because you contracted for a service under federal credit laws that you did not receive. And you're going to be, look, hopefully the credit card companies will honor that. It is part of a law. Otherwise, you join a long list of unsecured creditors and may never get your money back. So get on the phone now with your credit card company, provide them the documentation they need so that they can issue an interim credit. And in many cases, what the credit card companies won't tell you is that they were looking at Crystal Cruises for a long time as a holdback candidate. What does that mean? They were concerned about the financing and the financial situation of the cruise line. And as a result, even though you may have paid the credit card company, the American Express, Visa, MasterCard, whatever, with your credit card for that cruise, they may not have taken that money and given it to Crystal. They may have held it back until the actual date of your cruise, sort of an escrow situation, so that Crystal only got paid for when you got on the ship, which is, by the way it should be. Really, you can't buy a house and take occupancy of the house until it clears. That's what's called escrow. The problem in the travel industry is when you have companies that are either poorly financed, underfinanced, or ridiculously financed, capitalized, they may take your money to pay for the cruise that leaves next week, not the cruise that you're on in 3 months. And we can all know what happens then. By the time your cruise shows up, assuming it does or doesn't, where's your money? We had that problem during the pandemic. We certainly have it now with Crystal in the biggest and worst possible way. So what needs to be done, I'm a big proponent of this, is to have laws on the book requiring travel providers take your money and put it in escrow that can only be released by a third party, when the service is provided. Otherwise, you're giving people interest-free loans and they default, which is essentially what just happened with Crystal. And it happened to a lot of people during the pandemic. So this is the time to talk to your legislators, your elected representatives, and basically reintroduce them to the concept of escrow. It's a great consumer protection device. It's not a new concept. It needs to happen. It provides an opportunity for goodwill and good faith and trust. And we need a lot of trust right now on that. Speaking of goodwill and good faith, let's revisit 5G. It's still a problem. The cell phone companies will tell you, oh, it's been solved. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Yesterday in testimony before Congress, the FAA Administrator, Steve Dixon, who himself is a pilot, is saying it has not been solved. They have to go on a plane-by-plane, aircraft-type basis to determine which planes can fly in low visibility situations where their instruments won't be affected by the power of the 5G towers. The planes that we're really talking about are the Boeing 747, not really a big problem right now since so many planes like that are not flying, but the Boeing 777 is flying. And those models, the 200s and the 300s, they have instruments on there that can easily be affected by the powerful 5G towers. And of course, the commuter airline types. They're also having not state-of-the-art systems in many cases that could be affected. Not wrong systems, just not updated systems. And so not done yet. And in fact, in his testimony yesterday, he said it may not be fixed for a year. So watch this space. We're not going to see rampant cancellations like we were worried about 2 weeks ago, but we are going to see adjustments in the schedule and in the aircraft types that are allowed to fly in low visibility situations. So watch that space too. Now, I have a trivia question for everybody today, right? Let's see if you get this. All right. When did airlines, it's a painful question. When did airlines start charging for checked baggage? What year was it? I'll let you take some time on that before I answer that. The answer might surprise you. All right. Now, we had a question last week about multiple booster shots. Is it advisable? Well, there is no scientific data now that will support it one way or the other, although some countries like Israel are doing just that. They're doing multiple booster shots. So the information's not back yet, so I can't give you the information that you need. There is no rule yet, but some countries are going ahead with it, just so you know. Okay, now it's time a couple of things I want to mention. Of course, our radio show tomorrow. I'm in New York today. Just came back from the Canary Islands. I was only there for 2.5 days. It's a long story. I won't bore you with it, but an amazing story. Tomorrow, the show is not coming from the Canary Islands. The show tomorrow is coming from the iconic, historic Fire Island Lighthouse off the coast of Long Island here in New York. And for those of you who don't know Fire Island, it's a national seashore. It's a barrier island. It's 32 miles long, never gets more than 1/3 of a mile wide. And at the tip end of the western part of the island is the tallest lighthouse in Long Island, built in 1858, the Fire Island Lighthouse. And for those of you who are movie trivia buffs, take a look at the lighthouse keeper's house in the photograph that's on our website, which is right next to the lighthouse, and you'll recognize it as the post office from Men in Black. But forgetting that, you can climb to the top. Great stories, built in 1858. The tallest lighthouse I should say the oldest lighthouse on Long Island is Montauk. But some great stories there. And we'll be talking to the guys who are preserving the lighthouse. It's no longer operated by the Coast Guard, hasn't been for years, but it still operates. And I can tell you this, even though it's not an official aid to navigation, when that light beacon goes around every 7.5 seconds, anybody who's a navigator, who's a captain, we depend on it. And great stories there. So tune in tomorrow. That's 10 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock Pacific. Check your local listings. And if you can't find it, not a problem. Just go right to our website, petergreenberg.com, and hit the icon at about 10:05 Eastern time, and we stream it live. And if you missed the show, it comes back as a CBS podcast next week. So one way or the other, we're going to give you an introduction to Long Island in a way that you probably didn't imagine, but should. One other fact about Long Island, if it was a state, it would be the 13th biggest state in America. It's the most populous island in America, by the way, and it has so much to offer. I'm telling you this as in the interest of full disclosure, someone who loves Fire Island. I've been there since I'm 6 months old, and some of you know I'm also a volunteer fireman out there. But lots of things to talk about on the show tomorrow, and I hope you'll tune in. Let's go to some of your comments and questions. I'm going to scroll up right now, where there are a lot of them. David Scott Jones, hello, Peter. Right back to you. Tanya Hooper Moore says, what do I think is the future of Crystal Cruises? As a going entity, I don't. It's going to either be bought and absorbed into somebody else's line, which would be sort of a mistake because they have such a great reputation with their passengers over the years as a full-scale luxury cruise line. But my guess would be that individual ships will be sold off and rebranded, and the cruise line will cease to exist. That would be my guess. But I know for a fact that 3 or 4 major cruise lines are jockeying right now to buy some of their ships. Some of their ships, the Symphony and the Serenity, are relatively old. They're more than 20 years old, but their brand new ship, which we talked about, we actually visited it before it took its maiden voyage last summer in Iceland. The Crystal Endeavor is a hot property. It's a hot commodity. Someone's going to snap that ship up. So the more we know about it, we'll let you know. Okay. Sue says, thank you. You're more than welcome, Sue. Michael says, your thoughts on the CDC view on travel to Mexico. Any difference to you by land or by air? Look, I've said this so many times. The fact that the CDC paints a color red or issues a level 4 warning, it doesn't resonate with me in that way. It's based on the vaccination level of that destination. However, and the number of cases, of course, and I understand that. But for me, I base it on the vaccination level of me and whether or not I'm going to behave and play by the rules and whether or not I've been vaccinated, been boosted. Remember, there's a 270-day rule coming in so many countries now. Remember, we're now in the 1-year anniversary, more or less, of the introduction of the vaccine. So that if you got your vaccine in like February of last year and you didn't get a booster shot, you may not be able to enter many countries because if it's outside 270 days, meaning 9 months, they won't let you in. Get your booster shot. But more specifically, in answer to your question, Michael, I don't have a problem going. Mexico has stayed open during the entire pandemic. Just got to play by the rules. If you get to Mexico and you go to a bar and there are 800 people within 6 inches of each other, why are you walking into that bar? Mask or no mask? Look, Mexico has more than 4,000 miles of coastline. That doesn't mean you can't find a beach that's got social distancing. And a pool too, by the way. All right, let's keep going here. Sue's tuning in from Washington State. Another Tanzania follower. Okay, Abdul, nice to talk to you. Sherry says, is it a good time to visit Ireland in March? Well, I'll give you a silly answer because I love that country. It's a good time to visit Ireland anytime if you know why you're going. Are you going to Ireland in March for a suntan? Probably not a good idea. Are you going to Ireland in June for a suntan? Probably not a good idea. We don't go to Ireland for suntans. We go for great culture and history and food. Yes, it's more than just potatoes for those of you who haven't been lately. It's amazing cutting-edge cuisine. And you go there for the music. And you go there for the pub scene. And you go there for the literary history of Ireland. How amazing is that? Not to mention the religious history. It's all there. But I would go in March because you won't be crowded, right? Bring a raincoat. It might get rainy 1 or 2 days. Who cares? Again, you're not there for the suntan. All right, keeping going. All right. Howdy from snowy Dallas. I just talked about Dallas. With climate change, the airports here need to change. These snow ice events happen every year. Well, here's what I understand. And the next time I talk to Sean Donahue, who runs the DFW airport, I've been on the tarmac there. I've been out there. They have snow removal machines. They do. They have de-icing machines. They do. I don't really know what happened. That may have happened so fast that it froze. That is an event that could happen at any airport. The problem here wasn't the weather. The problem here was the recovery, right? In the service industry, whether you're a hotel, airline, cruise line, dry cleaner, doesn't matter. The difference that you make is not in the delivery of the service. It's how you recover when things get screwed up. I'd have to say Dallas or American Airlines didn't recover very well. Neither did JetBlue. And it's not as if they just decided to fly today and this is a big surprise to them. They have tons of meteorologists on staff who told them what was coming, right? I mean, they had all the time in the world to figure out plan B, C, and D. And right now, they're still struggling on B. That doesn't work. All right. Geraldine says hello from Chicago. Hello from Delray Beach. Have I heard about countries requesting boosters that have to be taken within 6 months of travel? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, certain countries like Israel are not doing the 270-day rule. They're doing the 180-day rule, right? There's your 6 month. Okay. All right. Marietta's calling from New York. Scott's saying, sent him my passport renewal, extradited on January 10th. Just got it back yesterday. All right. It's getting better. All right. BJ says, is it okay to have an antigen test when you are returning from France to the USA, or does it need to be PCR? No, it can be a rapid antigen test to come home. All right, just so you know that. Okay. Now, remember the email I just got about somebody who got their passport back January right now? Here's one from my friend Carlos who goes, sent for my passport October 13th, paid expedited service, still nothing. Okay. Who did you send it to? Which passport office? Have you called them? Have you stopped by? Did you keep photocopies of everything you did? Now's the time to have a conversation. October to now, not acceptable. Okay, Patty saying hi in snowy Kentucky. Joseph Mwangi, Jumbo from Nairobi. All right. All right. Joy Daniels, will there be a travel and adventure show in Philadelphia this year? If not, do you know the closest city to Philly where I can go to attend? Yes, I do. The answer to your question is it won't be in Philadelphia this year. It will be right here in New York. I believe it's either March 18th, 19th, or 20th on that weekend, and I'll be speaking there, so I hope I see you. And as you know, Philadelphia to New York and Amtrak's a piece of cake. Patty says, I'm traveling to Paris late April. Do I learn all the COVID guidelines and health pass rules now or wait closer to the trip? You got to wait closer to the trip. They put these rules out on an Etch-a-Sketch machine. They're changing so rapidly. There's no point in basing any of your decisions on what you need to do rather than where you want to go. Now, wait. At least wait till between 2 weeks to 10 days out. Anything other than that, you're making extra work for yourself because you're going to have to pivot and adjust. Jew is back on from Japan. Okay. Tamil Walker says hi. I see what. Now you're all guessing about when the airlines charge for check bags. All right. Patty's guessing 2003. Wrong. Geraldine says 2009. Wrong. Cheryl Briesmeister, who should know better because she was one of the great workers at American Airlines. We love her. Says 1990. Cheryl, I love you, but you're wrong. Kristen Olson, 2003. Okay, I'm looking. Any more guesses? One guy got it right. Actually, two people got it right. Colleen Casey and Chuck Mardix. It was 2008, 14 years ago. How about that? All right. Let's keep going here. Oh, by the way, speaking of baggage, when nobody was looking this week, Frontier changed the rules. It's one thing to charge you for a check bag. Now they've changed the weight limits. On most U.S. airlines, your first check bag can weigh up to 50 pounds. Same thing with your second check bag. Anything like if it's 51 pounds, you get killed, right? We've all been through that. You need to take stuff out of your bag, sir. Okay, fine. What did Frontier do this week? They didn't change the actual price. They reduced the weight. It's now 40 pounds. Get ready. Get ready. All right, let's keep going here. All right. Nancy says she loves lighthouses. Yes. Okay. Keep going here. Is it better to book 3 or 6 months prior for domestic airfares? Look, if you're booking for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Memorial Day, July 4th, book as far in advance as you can. But any other time of the year where it's not one of those days or Thanksgiving, 3 months is just fine. I always like to say between 47 and 54 days out. So in that vicinity, right? So you're close to 3 months there. Actually close to 2 months, but that'll be fine. Is it easy to get from Milan to Lake Como? Piece of cake. It's only about a 45-minute drive. All right, easy. Uh, okay, Richard, I'm planning to fly to San Antonio to do a 2-week road trip through Florida. I would like to land at the tip of the Keys. That would be Key West. Work my way down the beach and fly out of Orlando. Well, look, do you feel this is a good idea for a road trip? I do. But what I would do is I'd do it the other way around. If you want a cheaper airfare, you fly to Miami or Fort Lauderdale and then drive all the way down to the Keys and either drive back or fly out of Key West. Okay. Conchetta, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. We are on our way to New Paltz for a short getaway. Going to Switzerland in June. We've already purchased plane tickets and have a land package. At what point should we purchase insurance? Wait a second. Have you not been listening to this show? Insurance? What kind of insurance? And from whom? It's basically 2 kinds of insurance that I would allow you to look at yet. One is trip cancellation and interruption insurance. Most of you see that when you go online and make a reservation and it pops up and you can't even complete the transaction unless you opt in or out of it. Bad idea. Don't buy it online. The other kind of insurance is what we call medical evacuation and repatriation insurance, which all of you should have. Every single one of you. There are 2 companies that I like. One is called MedJet Assist. The other was called Travel Guard. They have a very good policy. And one of the reasons why they have a good policy is because if you read the fine print, in the event you get sick or injured overseas, a lot of companies will pay to have you stabilized medically until they can get you checked out and literally get you back home. But there's fine print involved. And most insurance companies that have seen the fine print, it's scary because once they determine what your condition is, they will then send you to the medical facility and doctor of their choice. Whoops. Do you really want that? I don't, and you don't either. What you want is a policy that will send you to the medical facility and doctor of your choice in consultation with your own physician. Who knows your medical condition and history better than your own doctor? So the 2 companies that I know that do that are MedJet Assist and Travel Guard, but I got to give you an asterisk there as well. There are also exclusions in both of those policies. There are age exclusions. There might be pre-existing medical exclusions, and in some cases, destination exclusions, right? Nobody's getting insured to go on a vacation to Syria right now, if you get my drift. So now, as far as when you want to buy insurance, you buy your insurance as close to your departure date as possible, once you figure out the fine print. Because most insurance policies will only give you a refund within 7 to 10 to maximum 14 days of the date you bought the insurance before the trip leaves. So why would you buy it 6 months ahead of time? You wouldn't. Okay. Tomas says, I'm planning a trip to Dubai for a wedding. Anything we should know or tips? Well, let's hope the wedding's not in July or August because you're going to fry. That's my brilliant tip. But you'll have fun. I guarantee you. All right. Hello from Denver. Rocky, my friend Rocky from Delta. I won't give you Rocky's last name, but he's the king of Delta. I mean, this man is amazing. One day I'll tell you the story of me and Rocky. It's a great story. Happened totally by accident, as Rocky knows, but he saved the day. As I said before, the delivery of the service is not the key. It's how you recover. And on a day when things really screwed up at Delta, Rocky at JFK, he recovered. Hello, Rocky, and thank you again. Okay. Pat says the 270-day rule does not apply if one has had the booster. Of course it doesn't apply. Of course it doesn't apply. That's why you have the booster, so that you're not stuck with the 270-day rule, okay? Hello from Tanzania again. Hello again. Okay. Oh, Linda says, do I ever think they'll build smaller cruise ships instead of these huge floating cities? They're building smaller cruise ships now. Dedicated luxury expedition ships that may only take 200 passengers at the most, not 5,000 passengers. The beauty about the smaller ships, among many other things, is they can get into ports without destroying the ports. And they can go to ports that the big ships can't go anyway. So you can actually experience a port the way it was meant to be experienced, not standing in a long line waiting for a t-shirt and a souvenir drink. Right? Okay. Zora says, hello from Beverly Hills. Right back to you. Gene, hi, Peter, from a cold and snowy Tulsa. We love Tulsa. Oh, yeah, we love Tulsa. What European countries don't have a vaccine mandate to enter? Michael wants to know. Not many. Not many. I was I was just in Spain, and there was no vaccine mandate that I was required to show to enter. However, at Portugal, you can't even transit the airport without showing it and without having a test. So keep in mind, again, it changes all the time. Hello from Scottsdale. Okay, from ML. Cheryl, any suggestion on traveling from Jordan back to Tel Aviv? Yeah, that's an easy one. You know, they've had a peace treaty since 1994 between Jordan and Israel. The best way to do it, there are two ways to do it. But you want to go to Tel Aviv. So the easiest way to do it is to go over the Allenby Bridge a little bit closer to Amman. And it'll take you a little bit while to clear customs and immigration at the border, but it's only about a 45-minute to 1 hour drive. And there are many car services that are right there at the border at the Allenby Bridge on the Israeli side to take you right around into Tel Aviv. So that's how I do it. Now, you can do the southern border crossing near Eilat, but that puts you way too far south to get back up to Tel Aviv. All right, so there you have that. Let's go to the picture of the week. Love this picture. It looks very much like a picture I took a couple of years ago. As you can imagine, where was it? You know it. Thanks to Tanya Moore in Antarctica. And she writes, the calmness and serenity in the Antarctic is exhilarating. The icebergs are like artwork, although there are too many of them now, a lot of things breaking off, global warming. It's fascinating watching the penguins in their daily life. I got to see them climbing an iceberg in Danko Island, Antarctica. It's an amazing experience. There are a number of services now, but they're actually flying down there. I took the hard way, but the more memorable way, the Drake Shake, right? The Drake Passage from Ushuaia in Argentina, about 36 hours to cross the Drake Passage to get into the calmer waters of the Antarctic. And I wouldn't have traded that for the world. So thank you again, Tanya, for doing that. If you've got a photo that you want to suggest as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Just send it to us, peter@petergreenberg.com. And if we like it, like we like Tanya's, it's up and running right here. We appreciate that. Okay, some pre-sent questions that you sent in earlier in the week. From Emily, looking for a good buy on tickets in late May or early June, but numbers I'm seeing are higher than before the pandemic. Is it too early to buy? You're mentioning San Francisco to Milan and Zurich to San Francisco. Here's the deal. And I'm going to suggest this. It's an old school approach, but it works. Go to a local newsstand in wherever you live that takes international newspapers, the actual hold in your hand international newspapers, and look at the Saturday edition of the London Times, the Observer, the Telegraph, the Independent. That's when they run their travel ads and their travel sections. And you will see airfares advertised there that you will not see advertised in the US for a whole lot less money that'll connect you throughout Europe and back to the United States. Check that out first, and then let me know what you find. Also, two other websites I'd suggest that specialize in European airfares, and they scour about 700, that's right, 700 different sites that you've never heard of, and some airlines you may have never heard of. One site is called Momondo, Momondo, and the other site is called Mobissimo. Check them out as well. Okay, let's keep going here. From Mitch, what are my thoughts on auctioning cabin upgrades on cruise ships? Upgrades used to be perks for loyalty. Well, they still are perks for loyalty, but everybody's looking for revenue right now. And this is last minute incremental revenue where all of a sudden, if the ship has about 20 extra cabins and it's like within 3 to 4 weeks of a cruise, they'll do a little silent auction, like a blind bidding situation to see who wants to pay for the upgrade. I understand it, and I get it. Okay, Kathy asked a question that I think I answered already, but what are my chances of a refund from Crystal? This is a sad one. Kathy writes, I had 3 cruises planned and 2 paid in full, 1 big deposit. Ouch. My question to you, Kathy, and you can also answer me online, peter@petergreenberg.com. When did you pay this? How did you pay this? Have you been in touch with your credit card company and your travel agent? Do not wait, but please send me all the documentation. I'd like to look at it, peter@petergreenberg.com, okay? And have you heard from Crystal? Even if you have, it's probably not good news. So let's see if there's a way under the federal credit law we can get you your money back. Okay. From Jack, do I have any gut feelings about the opening of Istanbul, Singapore, Sydney, and Auckland for cruise stops considering COVID closures? Yeah, Istanbul is going to open. Singapore and Sydney, good luck. Not right away. Same for Auckland. The earliest I think Australia is going to open is maybe May, and that doesn't necessarily mean for cruises. Singapore, it keeps getting locked down, as does Hong Kong. And Auckland, of course, has been locked down since day one in New Zealand. So of the four you mentioned, Istanbul looks like it's going to happen. Okay, here's one from Aaron. It seems like everyone I know is going to Mexico, and the CDC placed it on a very high risk list. Yeah, I know. Everybody is going to Mexico. I answered the question earlier. Behave yourself, play by the rules, make sure you're vaccinated and boosted, and you should be okay. I'm scrolling down for some more. Hold on a second. Sue wants to know, how do I spell Mobissimo? It's Mobissimo, and Momondo is Momondo. Trevon wants to know, what's my favorite Latin American city? I have about 20 of them. Seriously, but for different reasons, right? I mean, when you say Latin America, you also talking South America? I'll give you a couple. I mean, I love Buenos Aires, always have, always will. I love it more than Rio. However, I love Jericoacoara in Brazil, way up north. And of course, the islands up there are unbelievable, right? I love Montevideo in Uruguay. I love the Lake District in Santiago. Of course, down south, how could you ever fault Patagonia? And one of my favorite Latin American cities is in Chile. It's called La Serena. This little small port city on the Pacific, amazing. And we're just getting started, but those are a couple right there. By the way, the island I wanted to mention in Brazil is Fernando de Noronha, where there are more spinner dolphins and turtles than people. It's great. And Jericoacoara, you'll see sand dunes there that are unparalleled. Beautiful pieces of art. Tanya says Antarctica was absolutely incredible. Tanya's the one who took that photo. Any word when Japan might open? You know, they're all watching the Olympics right now in Beijing. That's what they're watching. Let's see what happens. They're probably going to make a decision by the end of March. They do not want to lose another summer of revenue. That's the real deciding factor right now, I have to tell you. Okay, here we go. Okay, what are my thoughts? This is from Michelle for river cruises in Europe this summer. Will they be a go again? As there are some places we've heard are spiking and restrictions coming in. Yes, it's going to be a go again. The real consideration of river cruises in Europe is not COVID. It's water levels. We're going to have to see where there are actually navigable waters for the ships to move. So stay tuned on that. We'll try to get you an update, not next week, probably the week after. And Bruce Siegel just guessed 1995. You're not only late, Bruce, you're wrong. It's 2008. Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to scroll back up to see if I missed anybody. Nope, we got everybody. I love it. I love it. Well, happy to be back from the Canary Islands. By the way, that was part of a show that we're doing for PBS as part of my Hidden series called Hidden Canary Islands. Our mantra for those shows, no gift shop, no TripAdvisor logos, and no tour buses. By the way, I will not leave without talking about this. Speaking of TripAdvisor, another story this week that got me angry and should get you angry as well. Hotels that are offering bonus points to guests to write great reviews on TripAdvisor at their hotel. Where's the credibility here? Where's the trust here? What are we going to do about that? How do we know that we can trust a review when people are incentivizing people to lie? I tell a story about what happened to me a couple of years ago at a hotel in Asbury Park, New Jersey, I think it was called the Berkeley. And I checked in, and they gave me the key to the room. The bellman went up with me with my bags. And he gave me his card, brought the bags in. He leaves. I take one look at the room. It's The Shining. The door handle comes off in my hand. All the mirrors are cracked. There are blood stains on the wall. The stuffing's out of the chair. The closets are off their track. And then I look at the card that the bellman gave me. He was a very nice guy, by the way. What did the card say? Write a great review and get a discount. write a great review of that. I took that card, called the camera crew. Oh, we gave them a review, all right. And what does TripAdvisor's comment on this? Why do you allow people to openly bribe their guests, airlines, hotels, cruise lines, tour operators, to write glowing reviews when in fact your service sucks? And how are we supposed to believe those reviews? How many fake reviews are there out there? You know what? The services like TripAdvisor will tell you it's only like 3 or 4%. Do you know what 3 or 4% is? It's 1.6 million fake reviews. Who's vetting it? By the way, anytime you read a review that has more than 4 words in a sentence that end in ST, best, greatest, most, like, loveliest, you know it's garbage. You know what you want to do? Take a look, not on the online reviews, take a look in the chat rooms and then find out who's talking there, right? Or ask Facebook or TripAdvisor or anybody else to confirm to you the IP address of the person writing the review. And what a surprise that so many of those IP addresses come from the business centers of the hotels. What a surprise. Anyway, I'm going to rant and rave about that for a long time because it's not going away. We need good information. We need trusted information. And I hope you guys will make sure that your voices are heard in the most appropriate way. So, bottom line is, radio show tomorrow, Eye on Travel on CBS from the Lighthouse in Fire Island, New York, built in 1858. We will be traveling again next week. Our radio show coming from a rather remote location, so stay tuned for that. Of course, I want you guys to be safe. And please, airlines, it's not news that in the wintertime there is snow and ice. Please prepare better. I'd much rather take a preemptive cancellation 2 days out than spending 2 days at the airport when we all knew what was coming. This is not about revenue. This is about responsibility. On that happy note, be safe, everybody, and we'll see you next week.